Hello to the participants. Thank you for joining in this afternoon's webinar. Can you hear me?
Yes, okay. Thank you, Sir Edwin. Engineer Don?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for staying this long. Salamat.
Ma'am Nikki?
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody learned something new today and have a greater appreciation of our very complicated industry. Sana meron tayo natutunan.
Okay. So we extended our time for the Q&A as requested. So this is the first question. It was announced that Indonesia will ban the export of palm oil starting April 28. What would be the impact on feed price? Do we have enough cocoa oil to meet the demand of the feed industry? Sir Edwin, I think this is for you.
Okay, we know that Indonesia is the world's top palm oil producer. And so far, we have seen the prices of crude palm oil increasing. As I shared to you in the discussion kanina, it has moved up to that 1,600 mark US dollar. Okay, so when Indonesia, because this was the pronouncement in terms of policy by President Widodo, okay, so there to ensure the availability of food products at any given time. So most likely it's more of stockpiling now, prioritizing first Indonesia versus the export market. So in that case, we have seen even when Malaysia was also had this problem in terms of yung COVID nga, then less foreign workers, we've seen the prices go up. So definitely with the tight supply, okay, there will be an increase in price. Not only that, we know that Ukraine, Russia, which also export sunflower oil, is already affected. So even soy oil, it's the volume is not in terms of the balance for the other oils. Okay, it's not sufficient. So all in all, the supply of all oils will be tight. So when you have tight supplies of oil, then prices goes up, supply and demand. And we have seen also, aside from the Ukraine-Russia war, wherein they control, okay, in terms of the presentation of Ms. Nikki a while ago, how the commodities will impact based on the contribution of these two countries, from corn to barley to wheat and sunflower.
And also, if I may add, meron namang other ingredients or raw materials na pwedeng kuhanan source of energy. Meron din sa copra oil, then we have also the full fat. Then there are also other source of oil. So regarding the question, do we have enough cocoa oil? Yes, we have, but the problem is the cosmetic industry ay nakikipag-compete sa livestock, but we have other raw materials na pwedeng gamitin natin. Sir Edwin, may follow-up nasagot mo na to. What is PAPMI's forecast on feed raw materials price on the next 6 months?
Very, very simple. You've seen all the prices of fuel, the prices of fertilizer, okay, the prices of logistics going up, inflation. So we have seen already it is being cascaded to food, and definitely it will be passed on also to us in the industry, in the field milling industry. Logic tells us. So that's why some companies right now, what they are doing is they're already they imported ahead of time. So probably in terms of volume, they have already secured 2 to 3 months of their requirements because of with the projection that prices might even go up. Okay, so Mayet, just to give you an to share with you an indication. Okay, wait, where is that? Yung prices, let me check. Yung feed wheat right now, feed wheat for the month of September, quotation is already $431 per metric ton.
Oh my goodness, 431. Okay. It's in September.
So that's all. That's also for a 55,000 metric tons volume pa. So those are some indicators that the prices already up high, and even our corn right now in the market is already as presented in 22, and then even they're saying that it might go as high as 25. You've seen soybean meal from the usual 28, 29, it has gone up now to 35 pesos. Okay, landed cost.
Oh, it's terrible. So we have to prepare for that eventuality. Okay, thank you, Sir Edwin. Next question goes to Engineer Don Bulanhagi. Do we have the estimate of the cost of mixing, grinding, pelleting, manufacturing broken to its process?
Yes, we have. But wala ko ngayon. I'll send it via e-agricom, and then siguro si Miss Mayat na lang di-distribute.
Or you can contact directly Engineer Don.
Yeah.
Doon naman yung kanyang number sa presentation. Okay. Also, we have another question. Rice bran price is steadily going up. Does the rice tariffication act a contributory factor? Why or why not? I think Sir Edwin and Ma'am Nikki can answer for this because Ma'am Nikki discussed the tariff.
Yeah, I'll go ahead, Edwin. Is this okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Rice tariffication, the importation of finished rice definitely created a displacement of locally produced rice. Hence, what happened was, since we're already importing the finished product, there's no more rice brand. So that's I guess when people were doing the rice tariffication law, they did not think that a certain industry will be displaced, which is the displacement of its byproducts. So that's number one. Number two, for chicken, what does rice brand mean to growing broiler? When there is no rice brand, our formulation makes us increase our coconut and soybean meal requirements more. So it's double-edged sword for the industry, because when you do not have what you call fillers or extenders of the feed ingredients, your only option is to reformulate your feed and to use the better grain, which is corn, wheat, and soybean meal. So that's my take on what the effects of rice bran is. In our case, when we don't have rice bran, it will increase our corn requirements by around 20% to fill in the gap.
Thank you, Ma'am Nikki. Sir Edwin, would you like to?
Yeah, to add to what Ms. Nikki has mentioned, if we check on the prices of rice bran in 2020 was somewhere around 12 pesos. In 2021, it went from 14 to 15 pesos. And in 2022, it's around 19 pesos. Tama si Ms. Nikki, remember, the local production of rice, around 12.8 million yan. But ang importation natin ngayon is around 2.8 million metric tons. So one way or the other, it has affected the supply of our rice bran byproduct from the rice milling.
Thank you po, Sir Edwin. May follow-up questions. Before the pandemic, Sir Edwin, we noticed that maraming corn na laman ang isang sako ng feeds na pellet. Bakit po ngayon ay konting-konti na lang ang mais sa pellet feeds?
So most likely, the use of alternative raw materials, because if you have some scarcity, so ano yung alternative source, you can probably have feed wheat. Iba yung kulay, so medyo brown. Hindi na yellow. Okay.
Mukhang importante sa kanila yung color, Sir Edwin. Mr. Apanaw, in Engineer Don's presentation, the profit margin of feed mill operations is only 9%. How are you going to survive with this number?
Definitely, it's really difficult. That's why manipis ang feed milling.
Right.
Manipis ang feed milling, you have the volume. You have the volume, and also that's why we have associations like PAFMI, wherein we call it competition. Though we are competitors in the production of feeds, but we we collaborate in terms of bringing in so that we have economies of scale and lower prices. So kami sa PAFMI, nagpaparating tayo, we do consolidate so that we will be able to have a better prices, and in terms of negotiation, it's we can leverage on our volume.
Engineer Don, would you like to add?
Yes, tama yung sinabi ni Edwin. Gone are the days na double digit yung profit margin, no? Those were the days nung panahon natin. No? But right now, in the next 2 to 5 years, with all of these challenges sinabi ni Nikki tsaka ni Edwin, I think we have to be satisfied with single digit profit margins. Kaya dito lalabas yung pagalingan nga sa efficiencies. Ito na. So, and we hope we could be of help sa industry doing this.
Thank you. And it's also important that the players bind together so they can buy or get discounts when they buy in bulk. Okay, thank you. Ma'am Nikki, may request dito. There is a request. What is the CP number of Vitarich in Iloilo? I am a hog farm owner.
Yeah, I told Mark, siya na bahala. Oh.
Ito po. We have here, thank you po, Engineer Bulanagi, for your presentation. I have 1,000 pigs before I was hit by ASF. And I used to buy commercial feeds, so 1,000 pigs. In your slide, when combined the tracking cost, warehouse, and distribution cost, natakpan ko aking binabasa. The feed milling cost, will you advise me to set up my own feed mill and mix my own feed? So this is only a 100 sow level, Engineer Don.
Sa ngayon, wag muna. Napaka-volatile ng raw material prices. Baka mapaso ka eh. So I would advise that for now, you let the big players muna kasi they could leverage on their volumes now. Sa ngayon, this is not the time for small players to mix independently. Not now. Baka mapasok. No? So not because I'm part of any feed milling company, but based on 30 years experience with the ups and downs ng industry, I think this is not the best time to self-mix. Postpone mo ng kaunti na doon sa time na medyo stable na ulit yung raw material prices.
Next question.
May to add to Engineer, a lot of small businesses also need to look into the cost of recapitalizing a feed mill. They think kasi it's just a feed mill, but they need to look into the inventory management. So meron kang perang nilalabas, meron ka pang perang natutulog habang nagnenegosyo ka. Meron ka pang inventaryo na kumakain at hindi mo alam kung magkakasakit. So that's where we're coming from. Look at it on a cash to cash point of view. Meaning cash that comes out, cash that comes in. If you do not have a big cash war chest, do not enter an industry like this. This is coming from the experience that we had that, having a healthy cash position is the make and break business of a feed milling industry. I'm sure Edwin also understands that as well.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Engineer Don. And also with the 9% profit, that's really difficult considering the return.
Nakainin na ng bangko ang interest mo.
Thank you. To Ms. Nikki, there is a question from NetFed Chairman, Mr. Chester Warren Tan.
Thanks for Chester.
Thanks for enlightening all of us. Broiler situation. Can you help me? How come my screen is like this? I need
katakot ako pag si Chester nagtatanong.
Can you read the question of Mr. Chester? I'm adjusting the my screen.
Sige. Hi, Chester.
Connie, who can read? Let me check.
Miss Mayet, yung kay Sir Chester po.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. Kevin, I need help.
Miss
You
Nikki.
can verbally say it na lang. I'm okay.
Apo, pwede naman po i-open natin yung mic ni ni Sir Chester, Sir Lawrence.
Sige. Kevin, I need help. Nawala yung Q&A ko.
Here. Marked help. Here. This is the question of Chester. All of us are e-broiler situation. Question. Based on the source of private and DA, for so long, our local poultry and dressed chicken has been more than self-sufficient. What do you think that pushes DA or the government economic team to still continue their importation program? Did they justify the explanation or reason? You know what? The DTI's main function is to bring down inflation of finished product. So to them is whatever suggestion comes to lower inflation, that's their mandate. So that's on the DTI side. In terms of supply and demand, I think what DA doesn't have is a month-to-month data of supply and demand. We know kasi our industry is a very seasonal industry. Diba? Pagdating ng bare months, tumataas ang consumption natin. Pero pagdating ng certain months of the year, second and third quarter, the consumption changes. And I think what happens with the DA, they look at it on a all year round, which sort of deters or confuses the DA on what the right policy should be. So I think they did admit that they do not have a really touch on the month-to-month consumption. So the nice thing about it, I think after all of these realignment that's happening, which we are learning from COVID and so forth, they're working now with the private sector. Well, I can say they're working a lot with the integrators, and especially in the chicken. The nice thing kasi with the integrated business, we know our business in and out. You can't compare it kasi to baboy. Baboy kasi is backyard. So for us, it's easy for us in the broiler industry to compute our output in the next 60, 90, and 120 days because we are integrated. We've already explained that to the DA. We've already explained that to the DTI. And I believe because of much needed explanation of the value chain, if you notice, my explanation was really towards the value chain. They had a greater knowledge of how important it is to really have data and to compute your data and to compute moving forward as well. Fortunately, the private, at least with the top 5 integrators with the broiler industry, it already accounts to 70%. No, not naman, 60% of the supply, and it's enough already to justify the calibration of broiler. I think what we need to work on moving forward is to really have a joint effort on being able to compute the real inventory of our local pork industry. It's going to take a lot of work. But I think it's the right thing to do, though. I think it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Ma'am Nikki. Okay, sir, another question. Sir Conrado, in your experience, which is more efficient, the vertical process or the horizontal process of equipment layout? Which is more efficient in terms of number of work space?
Well, in my experience, dalawa, no, sa animal industry, animal feeds, we usually use the vertical, no, kasi mas marami kang normally mas malaki yung capacity mo and you need a lot of beans also for storage ng dosing line, no. Sa aqua naman, normally we use the horizontal kasi maliliit lang ang normally, especially the extruded, no. So 5 to 10 tons per hour, malaki na for extruded line. So they normally use the horizontal layout. No? Nandun din kasi yung mga mga equipment mo na major can be horizontally arranged. So normally yan. So I would say for animal feeds, ano naman talaga, vertical talaga ang design. So for space constraint. But for aqua, lalo na extruder, we normally use the horizontal.
Varied yung questions natin. Engineer Don, this is again for you. I am a hog raiser. In terms of economic of scale, when should I consider having my own feed mill? What is the investment requirement of 10 tons per day feed mill? 10 tons, medyo maliit pa to. Appreciate your
maliit siya.
presentation. Thank you.
Sige. So ano siya, no? Maliit lang siya, 10, no? 300 tons per month, that's around 6,000 bugs lang, no? So again, I would advise, wag muna ngayon, no? Again, napaka-volatile. Siguro sa case mo, you start considering your putting up your own feed mill when you reach the 15,000 per month, bugs per month level na. Kasi yun, medyo ano ka na nun, makabawi ka na. But at this point, wag muna. Talo ka sa investment.
Investment requirement, the cost of money. Okay, thank you, thank you. Ma'am Nikki, this is for you. VitaRich is a leader in broiler production. How do you cope with the increasing cost of producing chickens? Thank you.
Unfortunately, we will need to pass it on. Yeah, we need to pass it on. There was a time that we weren't passing it on, thinking that there will be some hedging opportunities for our raw materials. But in the next 2 to 3 years, with Putin still getting angry, I don't think the world of raw material depreciation is going to happen any further. To share some insights, I came from Singapore for an agricultural summit. They mentioned that we are right now in what they call a super commodity cycle, which happens every 50 years. So we are in that cycle right now. And what they mentioned is how high and how long ang presyo natin.
Wow.
And I foresee that's going to be the issue for all of us in the industry, whether we are a commercial feed miller or an integrator. How high and how long? And I believe that's what's going to happen with the food inflation as well.
Thank you, Ma'am Nikki. This is for Mr. Mapano. Hello, Mr. Mapano. Thank you very much for sharing the information you have about feed milling industry. Based on your presentation, hogs feed consumption is the highest among other species with 31%. After the ASF, what is now the situation of swine industry in terms of the population and feed consumption? Does your association's feed production increase as of this moment? Sir Edwin?
Actually, Mayet, it was presented a while ago that number is already 31%. That's after ASF. Okay, and then hopefully the industry is on its toes of repopulation. So, but we're still hopeful that vaccines can come in the next year, so that we can be more or less to minimize the degree of risk.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And also the repopulation activities of the...
Yes, the government has the repopulation, not only the government through Inspire, Bantay Baboy, and then also the different feed millers. The different players, they are also doing in their own capacity in the repopulation.
Basahin ko na rin, Sir Edwin, tong next. Hi, Mr. Mapano. I am from Mindanao. Our group learned so much about your presentation. Why do you rely so much on imported soybean meal? Is there no local available material that can be used?
Okay, so let's see the total production of yellow corn. Yellow corn production, which is a source of energy, is around 6.1 million metric tons. If that's 6.1 million metric tons, okay, assuming that we use it all. Feed wheat, we import 2.5 million metric tons. And then we also have imported corn somewhere at 750,000 metric tons. So in short, the opportunity for the raw materials where it can be imported or local is huge. Okay, it's beyond the 6.1 production ng farmers natin. So hopefully we can encourage the farmers to plant more, right? Because of I've presented the importation, the numbers are glaring, and also in terms of opportunity as protein source, soybean meal importations around 2.6 million metric tons. Every year it's growing mayet by 10.5%.
And they're lucky in Mindanao because they have plenty of corn there and
Yeah.
also some soybean meal.
Though other companies use cassava, okay, and even copra meal, okay.
Thank you, sir. For Ma'am Estefany, the demand for chicken was down in 2021, but the importation was up by 83%. Where do the imported chickens go? How are you protected by the government?
Don't worry, I'm asking the same question too. No. Let's be candid about the situation. I don't know where they go. Definitely, our industry has monitored the wet market, and this actually scares us a lot because a lot of these, like I guess, unutilized chicken, they become swill feeds, and this is very dangerous for our local industry. Whether it's the form of pork, frozen pork, or frozen chicken, when there is too much of it and it's not consumed by people, it becomes swill feeds. And this really scares our local industry because it is the most unhealthy way to grow our livestock as well. I really don't know. I'll just be very candid. I don't even know which numbers is correct. There's BOC numbers, there's BAI, there's DA number, there's PSE number. So maybe moving forward to help policymakers moving forward, we should agree on one data of custom numbers so that we can really calibrate the number of importation as well.
Thank you, Ma'am Nikki. Hirap, no? Okay. So we have another question for Engineer Bulanhagi. Engineer, I noticed that the questions were out of your topics, like this one, very well presented. Thank you, Engineer Bulanhagi. We hope to hear from you again discussing the topic of moisture. For today, I would like to ask your advice regarding floating fish feed processing. I would like to reduce the fines in the pellet. What is your recommendations to reduce the fines?
From experience, tatlo lang yung nakita ko na pwede. Una, you look at your fine grinding. So, karamihan, pag sumablay ka sa fine grinding, especially we're using a lot of fibrous materials. Doon, pag sablay ka na ron, hindi mo nakuha yung tamang specs, sablay ka na rin sa luto, no? Sa extruder machine mismo. Secondly, I would suppose okay yung extrusion mo. After that, ang pinakamalaking nagiging problema is the drying, no? What portion in the drying, karamihan ng nakita ko na nagpe-face sa drying, hindi na na-consider yung humid environment. So drying is the drying efficiency or the drying capacity is highly dependent on the humidity na in-assume. So kung hindi na-assume nung manufacturer mo na sa humid months pa lang, taas ng humidity natin at 90%, then hindi yan. So incomplete drying will result in very high fines. And yung isang very tiny pero minor, pero minsan nakakalimutan yung sifting. Yung sifting kasi minsan madaling magbara, no? Ang nangyayari kasi nagka-clog yun because nagko-condense din sa loob ng sifting, no? So yung change ng humidity from sa labas at sa loob, nagkakaroon siya ng moisture sa loob ng sifter, so nagkakaroon siya ng clogging. So look into those three areas.
Thank you, Engineer Don. This is from our layer participant. Sir Don, in layer operations with 100,000 hens, what is the space requirement needed for a warehouse with feed mill equipment, raw materials, and finished goods area? Thank you.
So using, halimbawa I use 110 grams per laying hen sa feed. So that would be around 11 tons, no, per day. So 11 tons, ang ano ko lang is that's divide by 1. No? So you need 1 ton per square meter, yun yung akin. So that's 11 square meters. So if you're doing 15 to 30 days, so na raw materials, ni-store mo. So anywhere between 165 to 300 square meters for raw mat, and for finished feeds, kung if you're storing 5 to 10, mga around 65 to 100 square meters for finished feeds. That would be about it.
Thank you. The next question is, the protein content of express soy meal is the same as in solvent. Does it mean to say that we can use express meal 100% in the diet? How about the cost of feeds? Well, depends on the cost, but nutritionally, looking at the nutrition profile, you can use express soy meal to replace solvent soybean meal. Okay. And here's another question. Thank you po, Sir Edwin, for your presentation. You have showed the impact of corn price to us, hog producers. How do you plan to proceed with the increasing price of corn and its substitute? Nasagot na po yata ito, Sir Edwin. To Ma'am Stephanie, the losses of the industry was so huge. Are there producers closing down operations and shifting to other businesses? If so, this will encourage further importation of chickens.
I think, admittedly, during COVID, a lot of people closed shop. But the nice thing kasi about chicken, within 30, it's a business that you can easily enter and easily get out of. It's an easy entry business if you're just growing chicken. What is difficult is if you're like us, right, Rich, which is integrated, you have so many assets, you cannot pull out. Kasi mas malulugi ka if you pull out as an integrator. But if you are just growing chicken, they have this what you call, pwede ka magpahinga pag lugi ka. So what a lot of people do is pinapahinga nilang farm nila. They tie up with people like us, nagiging contract grower namin, and then when they make money, and then what they'll do na lang, okay, may pera na ako. Mukhang kaya ko na, prices of chicken look good, yung live weight maganda na, and then they go back again to what you call commercial farming. And then from there, they can buy their feeds and DOC from any other player. So that is nice thing about chicken. It's very flexible. It doesn't require that much capitalization compared to pigs. And then the 30 days kasi you get your money back. Pag you're in that part of the business. Lumiit ang manok in terms of total capacity, pero feeling namin mas lumiit ang demand because people are just really impoverished right now because nawala po sila ng trabaho for the last 2 years.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Nikki. I think there's a follow-up question to Ma'am Nikki. Ma'am Stephanie, how do you foresee the broiler cost of production in the next coming months? Nasagot na po ba natin?
Yeah, we're definitely it's definitely going to go up. We foresee around a 20 to 30% feed cost. So immediately we will need to pass it on. I think it's just not for broiler. I think anyone who decides to eat feeds, whether you're 4-legged or 2-legged.
Thank you, Ma'am Nikki. Ms. Mayet, is there companies producing or selling express soy meal? Wala po, pero meron pong mga extruded corn. Ms. Mayet, I think the cooking temperature of 150 degrees C for corn extrusion is too high. Don't think that the high temperature will burn the corn. If you use long barrel po, mababurn. But if you use single barrel, hindi po. Next, my question is for Mr. Edwin Mapanaw. But first of all, I would like to congratulate you, Sir Edwin, for a very informative presentation. Engineer Don explained that each farm customer required separate feed formulation which changes every week. Sir Edwin?
Mayat naghang ka. Can you repeat it? Naghang. Can you repeat the question, Mayat? Naghang ka.
Okay, kayo ba? How do you manage, and on na ba ako?
Yes,
Yes,
ngayon. Sige.
yes.
Can you repeat it?
Sir Edwin, how do you manage the price? Let me read again. Engineer Don explained that each farm customer required separate feed formulation, which changes every week, and especially when prices of major commodities increase. How do you manage these challenges? I think Engineer Don and Sir Edwin can answer this. This is directed to Mr. Edwin Mapanaw, the question.
Mayat, share to you, di ba yung feed cost na present ni Dr. Masilungan, it's around 32 pesos. Okay, but see, how much is the farm gate prices? 180 to 210, 215. So we're talking swine, huh? So yung farm gate prices, at least you still have that 20%. Okay, 20% margin. Granting that you follow yung protocol in terms of biosecurity, hindi ka tamaan ng sakit, and manage also the in terms of on the procurement, and then hopefully in terms of hedging with the other members, you can go for the group buy or consolidation. So across more or less, it's within that range, mga nasa 32 pesos. Yun yung present natin kanina.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Edwin. E-agricom, do you sell cassava meal? Jake, can you answer this? Jake, are you there? Are you here?
Yes, Ms. Mayat, good afternoon.
There's a question here. Do you sell cassava meal?
To answer your question, yes, we have seller from e-agricom app that sells cassava meal like Thai Viet International Group from Thailand. This company actually can export cassava meal to the Philippines po.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other than eggs. Hello? Jake,
Yes, go ahead po.
are you done? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So, other than eggs, chicken is the next cheaper source of meat protein. Are there plans on how to help increase the demand for chicken? Thank you po. Ma'am Nikki, can you please answer this question?
Actually, we saw naman the increase of demand of chicken going up. Actually, what happened is, to just take you to the journey, there was an increase of demand of chicken when ASF happened. And then, so umakyat siya is from our growth. And then what happened was, di ba, COVID happened, bumaba siya. Now, medyo the consumption of chicken didn't go so much because of the EO, yung support, yung binaba yung MAV. So, yeah. So, a lot of our HRI, again, went back to using pork in the menu. So, yan yung medyo cycle namin na yon. But I believe, again, aakyat na naman yung consumption ng manok because global prices of pork naman is going up as well. And I think there has been a intensive campaign from our friends in the local pork industry to really let the industry know, our consumers, how better locally produced and fresh pork is as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Nikki. Tama lang, in-increase natin ang time for the questions and answers. Oo, mas matagal pa tong Q&A compared sa presentation. Okay, sino to? Walang naka-address kung kanino. Our experience in feed mill are that when we buy 100 tons of corn, there were lots of losses. On record, there were stocks available but does not tally with the actual. What should we do? Thank you, sir. Engineer Don, I think this is for you.
Yeah. Yes, totoo yan. Yung 100 tons of corn, may loss yan when you store it in the warehouse. So normally, I would allot 1 to 2% na loss in terms of moisture and grinding loss. Sa ganun. But ang problema, pag ang feed mill, hindi nag-inventaryo buwan-buwan, nagpa-pile up yan. So halimbawa, hindi ka nag-inventaryo ng 5 months, yung 1% nun, 5 tons or more, no? Yung pile up nun. So akala mo nga, meron ka pang ganun karami, 5 tons, wala na kasi, ano na yun lumipad na yun, evaporate na. So the best thing is to do a monthly inventory talaga, physical count, so that you know you can have assurance na yung nandun sa ano mo tali lagi. Okay.
Thank you, Engineer Don. Thank you, Dr. Colina, Ms. Mayet, for the encouraging presentation of the test results. Have you considered the weather situation when the study was conducted? I think this study was conducted in June, July, month of June and July in US. So it's summer in the US, in Iowa. But of course, summer in Iowa is not the same as summer in the Philippines. So I will ask further, I will refer the question to Dr. Colina. Thank you. Sir Edwin, I noticed that you did not include the feed consumption and value of the pet animals. Is it something of less value than the other species?
Not really. We just focus on the food side, but it's a growing subsector, and that's why there's a part 2, hopefully. Discussion.
Clarity question, Sir Edwin. Ano?
Yes.
So,
But based on the record of what do you call this? Alltech, their estimate is around just 0.046 million metric tons. Okay, but we still will just check it and hopefully validate it with sa industry nga, because it's really growing. Especially nakita natin during this COVID pandemic. Yeah.
Yes. The pet food industry really grew a lot. Okay, so there are also requests to conduct webinar about pet food. So we will invite again Mr. Mapano for that activity to help us and present the feed consumption for the pet foods. It's not that it's not important, but Sir Edwin focused on the food, right, Sir Edwin? Thank you po. Yep. Sir Don, in your presentation, you have made mention of the bulk and bag format for the raw materials and finished products. What is the shelf life of broiler feeds in bulk in a place like Cebu, near the seashore? Sa Bohol siguro to. I think this is in Bohol.
Yeah, so you mentioned broiler feed, so ibig sabihin finished feed. So dalawang scenario when you're storing in bulk sa loob ng feed mill. So you can go as long as 3 days, no? So beyond that, yung humidity pwedeng mag-condense na sa loob and then di mo na mailalabas yan. It's different if you are storing it sa farm na walang shed yung silo mo. So with that, I would recommend 1.5 days lang, because yung direct tama ng araw, yun, may moisture migration, and will lead to condensation, and then yun mabubulok din. So for the farm, I would recommend 1.5 days, but in the feed mill for bulk, 3 days.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, the request for a webinar about the moisture came from our hog raisers, the moisture in the feed mill. And here's another question from Chairman Chester Warren Tan. To Engineer Conrado, in your presentation, you've shared us the controllable or fixed cost of feed milling operation. Does feed milling has uncontrollable or variable cost to be considered that would add to the production cost? Thanks.
Yung uncontrollable yung sinabi natin, no, yung mismong cost ng material, okay, or yung fuel cost, those are uncontrollable. So yun, kaya mong ma-predict eh. Pero yung controllable, pag hindi mo nagawa, pag hindi mo na-aral, pwedeng lumipad pa yung cost mo beyond that na sinasabi ko because of the inefficiency na mangyayari. So for example, hindi mo na project yung capacity mo, tapos nawalan ka napilitan ka na kumuha ng warehouse or toll mill na malayo o kaya mahal, then it could really add to your costs. So yung mga controllable na dapat kinokontrol mo talaga.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Don. CP number of Vitarich, na-address na to. Jake, can you answer this question? Can you provide hosting for a company and product-related webinars?
Mhm. Yes, we do provide that kind of service. We actually help you reach your target customers through our app. We can help you promote your products po. Our contact info is available at e-agricom app. You can visit our website also or download our app po. Thank you.
Ma'am Stephanie, thank you very much for the valuable information that you shared with us today. Is there a trend in price of chickens as to when the price increase or decrease?
You know what, we're very demand driven. So we change our price, I guess every day. We really change our price every day.
Yes,
Kulang na
that's
lang every hour, di ba? Parang stock market yung negosyo namin eh.
it's
So,
driven
yeah.
by supply and demand.
Yeah, it's driven by supply and demand, which changes every day. I think people just don't notice it because they don't buy chicken every day.
Once a week, Ma'am Nikki. Okay, thank you po. Hello, Engineer Don Bulanhagi. How does a high moisture and moldy corn affects the operations of feed mill?
Sa in terms of efficiency and capacity, wala masyado. Pero ang mas matindi, no, yung contamination niya. So pag na-contaminate ng moldy corn yung plant mong, hirap linisin yan uli. And then lahat na nang gagawin mo, meron ng contaminant ng ano, no? Yan, moldy corn nga, no? So aflatoxin. So pag yan na ano sa feed mo, na detect nung customer mo, baka ma-blacklist ka pa. So yun yung ano talaga risk ng high moisture and moldy corn sa operation. The risk na pag nalaman ng kliyente mo at na-test nila, mabablacklist ka talaga.
Engineer Don, sa iyo pa rin. Is there a feed mill in the Philippines who has adopted robotics technology to achieve self-sufficiency in feed milling operations?
In terms of self-sufficiency, hindi pa. Pero ang pinaka ano lang ngayon, pinaka-popular application ng robotics in the palletizing. Kasi nga the robot can work 24 hours, no? Konti lang and because yung mga robots na is coming from Japan and Europe. Ano siya, very reliable, very robust. So ano siya, reliable talaga. And that is madami na. As early as 6 years ago, a lot of feed mills have already adopted robotics palletizing as the main core. Lalo na yung malalaking feed mill.
Is there a brand of hammer mill that is most efficient to use in a broiler pellet feed production?
I would not exactly yung brand, but yung design. No? So normally yan yung horizontal type. No? And I would encourage for broilers, you invest already on variable speed nung mismong hammer mill. If your volume can justify that. Kasi yung a variable speed hammer mill, you can adjust the particle size na hindi ka lagi nagpapalit ng screen. So malaki yung range mo ng particle size. We do just one screen. So less downtime and more time for you to produce good feeds.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Don. Ma'am Stephanie, this for you, Ma'am Nikki. Where can we find Cook's Old Chicken? Wala po sa palengke. Thank you.
It's in supermarkets. Yeah, like we mentioned, we're with SM and other smaller supermarkets.
Pero wala, it's not in the wet markets po.
Kasi our product, if it's in the palengke, di ba, they don't like it, vacuum sealed. Gusto talaga nila, newly slaughtered. Yeah.
And then this is a follow-up for you.
Yeah, we do have, but I think Metro Manila lang, very limited.
Thank you, Ma'am Stephanie, for sharing your knowledge about the broiler industry situation in our country. You mentioned that the broiler production slowed down in 2020. How do you assess the situation in 2021 and 2022? Nasagot na ba ito, ma'am?
Maybe it wasn't explained properly. What happened was from 2019 to 2020, there was an uptrend. But from 2020 to 2021, there was a downtrend. Is there going to be a continuous downtrend 2022? Maybe because of the high raw material prices. So what's going to happen is maybe only the big guys will survive such inflation because they only have the capacity to absorb inflationary cost. A lot of the smaller players, whether they're integrated or not, might not be so aggressive because of the large working capital needed. But in terms of sufficiency, I think we are still sufficient.
Okay, and we don't need to import. Thank you, Ma'am Nikki. Mr. Mapano, the growing preference of health-conscious population is to eat more chicken than pork, but the feed consumption of chicken is much less. How are you going to manage this situation? Do we still have, how many questions do we have? Parang,
Ano ba yan?
I think you have addressed these questions.
What's the question again?
The question is about the low feed consumption of chicken
Okay.
impacting the overall feed milling industry. So the question
But in terms of
manage this situation.
Okay, but in terms of volume, it's huge in terms of volume. And in terms of, you've seen also, though, as mentioned by Ms. Nikki, that there's a slight drop over last year. But see, we have seen in the processed meat that it has been replaced by chicken. So probably you will see some changes there, and not only that, most of the HRIs, in terms of the type of meat that they promote, you've got the chicken joy, okay, and mostly chicken houses, right? So because of affordability, okay. So we will see that time wherein there might be the chicken meat surpassing the pork. It depends on how the different subsector promote.
There may be shifting, because of the price of pork and versus chicken. 1 kilo pork is 330 to 360 versus 1 kilo of chicken is 150 to 170. So there may be a change. Thank you, sir. Sir Don, in our humid weather Philippines, which do you recommend for stocking of raw materials for soybean meal, ground corn, and wheat, in pallet or in silos?
So soybean meal, you can use it sa pallet o yung sa bags, no? And also flat bulk warehouse. Okay rin siya. But the general rule is do not store for more than 1 month. For ground corn, ano lang siya, pwede lang siya sa pallet, no? And you do not store that for more than 1 week kasi nag-grind mo na eh. So yung penetration ng moisture dyan, galing sa labas mabilis. So magkaano na kagad dyan. Magka-lamp. And then for wheat, the most versatile. So you can store it in silo, in pallet, or in pot bag between 30 days to anywhere between 30 to 45 days.
Thank you. Pati itong preferences sa pag-silos eh. A question from Mr. Alfred Nang. What is the outlook on local corn supply and prices? How much do we expect corn to go up? And should farmers buy now and stock up their inventory? Sir Edwin and Ma'am Nikki. Sir Edwin, I think this is for you and Ma'am Nikki.
What's the outlook?
Outlook ng corn. Naging PSA na tayo, Sir Edwin.
So if you're going to forecast, look at the global prices also. Global prices are up. Supply and demand, very basic. The inputs are very high. The fertilizer has moved from 800 to 8, or it has quadrupled. And then the fuel prices. So at the end of the day, with the tight supply also, because of Ukraine, Russia, everything's going up. But at the end of the day, for as long as we can manage our costs, okay? Because you've seen also in terms of inflation, it has been passed on. But you take a look at the farm gate prices of our meat, meron pang naman makakahinga tayo with some margins, okay, with the farm gate prices.
And if I may add, Sir Alfred Nang, Mr. Mapano have explained the future price of feed wheat in September, and it increased. Number two, this month is the season of first harvest of corn. and supposed to be we're expecting the price to go down, but it did not go down as much as what we expected. So for the next 3-6 months and up to the end of the year, the next harvest will be in September, and the expected harvest is only not that much compared to the harvest during March and April. So we really have to look for alternatives, source of energy other than corn. So maybe we can try cassava meal, which we have plenty from Bukidnon. We have also suppliers from Thailand, a lot of cassava meal. We have to start sourcing out and looking for energy sources, replacement for corn. Until the government, which Ma'am Nikki and Sir Edwin are doing to help get approval on the reduced tariff rate of corn, then we can import corn. There's plenty of corn from US and from other countries. So it's really difficult, very challenging at this moment. Okay, thank you. So for e-agricom, how much percentage do you get for every product sales? Oh, Jake, this is a very nice question. How much percentage do you get for every product sales? Jake, are you still here?
Yes, good afternoon. At the moment po, we do not charge any percentage of your sales. So I think take advantage our free service na download e-agricom app and upload your products po. Kevin and Carla will gladly to assist you po kapag nakapag-download na kayo ng app namin. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is from a seller. From attendee, why the chickens in the Philippines are double the price of the chickens in Thailand? I think this is for Ma'am Nikki.
Yeah, I think it was in the bar graph that I had. But the reason why we're double the price because of our corn inputs. I don't know kasi how much corn Thailand and corn is right now. But there was a time na Thai corn is at 5 pesos when it was 15 here in the Philippines. Number one. And then number two is Thailand grows their chicken kasi at a different weight. Tayo kasi mahilig tayo sa maliliit na manok. So what happens is the feed meat conversion in Thailand is optimized, therefore bringing the cost down. Tayo kasi mahilig tayo sa 1.7, 1.9 finished dressed weight eh. So the smaller the chicken, the more expensive it is. So two factors ho. Expensive inputs, mainly driven by corn. And number two, the size of their chicken.
Thank you, Ma'am Nikki. Another question from NatFed Chair, Mr. Chester Warentan, to President Edwin. We want to thank PAFMI for your support and assistance to commercial and non-commercial feeds users. What is your group's stand regarding the recent request of some aqua feed mill groups to import porcine PAP product from ASF infected areas or country limited to wild pigs, which is a big threat to us? Can your group and fields and nutritionists assist on looking for substitution or to limit of usage of porcine, maybe even eliminate? Anyway, as of now, we are still continue to import porcine PAP from ASF free country. No argument from us, but not from infected areas. Thank you. Comment, Sir Edwin and Ma'am Nikki?
Actually, we attended that consultation with Dr. Rialdrin Morales and with the other stakeholders in the industry, of which majority nga have mentioned that they are against bringing in porcine because remember, the industry has already been battered. Tinamanan ng ASF. It hasn't recovered. We've seen the population, as I presented, from 12 million down to 9 point something, and then now, nagre-repopulate pa lang, there is that challenge in bringing in, okay, especially with this porcine, especially for coming from those affected areas, okay, with ASF. So I think kami naman sa PAFMI, we had the discussion also with NatFed with regards to this matter. Ms. Nikki, you would want to add?
Ma'am Nikki, would you like to add something? Say something?
That one kasi, that particular talk, I left it not to pass me. But on the side of Vitarich, we don't use porcine meal because we're halal eh. So since we are halal, they do not allow our feeds to have porcine. So we're just being consumer-centric on that aspect of our business. Na we want to certify kasi our product and our finished goods for halal, and it does not allow us to use any pork byproducts. Alternatives, like I said, feather meal is a good alternative. Fish meal, but I heard there's a lot of adulteration right now. And then I heard there's like warm meal from China, but I don't know if anyone wants to touch that, right? But you know, you need to ask your nutritionist to be more masipag, you know.
Other alternative.
But how is engineer sa atin? You know, I mean, that's the reality. Gone are the days where the job of the nutritionist is to compute with the easiest raw materials, because it's all left with the purchaser side. You know, you kind of have to push the buttons of your nutritionist and tell them, you know, bring down my cost, but I don't want to be the person that infects the industry. Find me an alternative, diba?
Thank you, Ma'am Nikki. The next one is a comment from my colleague Gregory Comnick from InstaPro. I think this is based on the rice bran price increasing. So he said here is there's rice bran from Vietnam or Thailand. Is it economically feasible? Gregory, are you still here? Are there plenty of rice bran from Vietnam? So maybe we can consider. Okay. So I'll just give this line. And then here's message from NatFed Chester Warrenton. Thanks, Ma'am Nikki. Have we answered all the questions? All the questions for Dr. Colina, I will just collate and send it to the persons asking the questions. So, do we have some more? Meron pa. Where can we find palm kernel meal in the Philippines that can supply bulk orders? I don't think we have palm kernel meal here.
Meron. Marami sa Mindanao. My brother-in-law is in that business. There's actually a association called the Palm Oil Industry Association. So you can ask them. Okay. They're based in Sultan Kudarat, Palawan. It's just not marketed very well. Or baka yung traders kinuha na silang lahat.
That's why the price of palm kernel oil
Tumatawag si Edwin sa akin.
is cheaper in Mindanao. It's cheaper po in Mindanao the palm kernel meal and the palm kernel oil. It's cheaper in Mindanao.
And so I know they're expanding heavily now.
Kevin, request, paki-assist mo yung brother-in-law of Ma'am Nikki to upload the products kasi may mga naghahanap palm kernel meal. Who can supply bulk orders? Siguro the question is from a feed mill purchaser. From Ali Algorem. He is from Turkey. Hi, Ali. So this is the question of Ali. Due to Ukraine and Russia issue are increasing phosphate prices, especially increased demand from Europe. Do you think the price increase will continue? I think so, Ali. Because of the cost of logistics cost, the shipping cost and everything. So the price will definitely increase together with the other raw materials. Thank you for attending, Ali. Problema to, ma'am. Hindi nga naintindihan Tagalog.
And I think we need to watch out our exchange rate also after the elections. So I think that's one thing our industries need to watch. What will be our exchange rate after the May elections? We're just hoping it will stabilize, yeah. Either or yan either stabilize up or, So let's see.
Hopefully. So are there other questions? I think we have answered all the questions, no? Tech? Okay. So, we would like to thank our distinguished guest. Nagpagod tingin ko kayo pagsagot. And the questions are very varied, from economics, from supply and demand, and there are questions outside the presentation. Well, it's very good naman kasi na-cover natin, talagang magagaling itong ating mga participants, ating mga guest speakers. Okay, so we would like to request once again all of our distinguished speakers, I don't want to say last, what message would you like to say to our participants? Let us start with Sir Edwin, to our 366 registered participants. Sir Edwin?
Yeah, very simple message is that we are here. I mean, the feed milling industry, PAFMI, objective is to ensure that there's food security. And for as long as there are 112 million Filipinos continuously eating the different types of meat, we are here to support. Hopefully, yes, we have to tighten our belts. We have to be creative and innovative in terms of, with regards to the managing the high costs, input costs. Okay, but at the end of the day, we have to balance it, in such a way that it is still at the end, since it's a business, so it should be thriving, and we need to be competitive, and at the same time, the noble objective of feeding the Filipinos.
Thank you very much, Sir Edwin. So we have Engineer Don Bulanagi.
Yes, for the next several years, the feed mill industry is in for a very, very, very challenging time. So sa atin, mga feed miller, dalawa yung natin, double hirap tayo. One is to focus in surviving today because of the very high inputs, and then planning for the next 2 to 5 years kung saan ka pupunta. So yung dalawang challenge na yun, the ones who can, surmount those two challenges, siguro yun yung magkikita-kita sa at the end of the 5-year period.
Oh, thank you. Pero yung mga efficient na feed mills, yun ang talagang the last man standing, talagang magre-regroup tayo because of the situation. Thank you, Engineer Don. Ma'am Nikki?
Well, so my talk is about the broiler industry. I think I'd like to touch more on the importance of really supporting your local industry. Kasi we were super pro ibang bansa diba?
Importation.
It took COVID, and it took Putin, and it took so many other people to make us realize that it's really important now to really focus on our agriculture business, our agriculture in general, how important it is to look at food sustainability, food safety, food self-sufficiency in the next couple of years. No one else is going to feed the Filipino people except ourselves. So that's the takeaway. Are we going to be in a ride of high inflation? Yes. Because now we're so dependent on getting our stuff outside. But will we survive this? Of course, kasi mga Pilipino masipag, madiskarte, and they're our situation has always made us the master of our innovation. So that's a nice thing about the Filipino spirit. So with that, I really hope that every time you eat food, you go to the grocery, you really think about the feed millers, you think about your corn farmers, you think about your chicken farmers. And when you buy in the supermarket, kahit na mas mahal ng konti ang local, at least fresh siya and locally produced, at saka ang dami mong kababayan tinutulungan. So, yun lang masasabi ko.
Thank you very much. And for those There are questions for Dr. Colina. As I've said, I will send or submit all the questions to Dr. Colina and will request her to answer all of the questions and we'll post it. Thank you very much. So we will turn over. We're done with the Q&A. So we will turn over to the technical team. Thank you very